Hey everyone, this is your favorite radio host, your only radio host, Corinne Lafont, broadcasting to you from the lovely island of Trinidad and Tobago, and it's a beautiful day out today. I always like to start my show like that, talking about the day, talking about how beautiful, being grateful. I'm always a person of gratitude, and it's good to just be able to see, acknowledge, feel, take in the positive energy, the energy of the world, the energy of what is meant for you to bring in all those types of great vibrations to have a beautiful day. I just relish in the beauty of what I see, and I'm thankful to be able to see it, witness it, experience it. And so I have with me a beautiful woman. She's just as beautiful as the day here in Trinidad and Tobago, Lorianne King. And this is Lorianne with a dash between, and Anne is Anne. I like to make sure that I correctly spell and pronounce everyone's names properly, because that's what they were given by their parents, and that's part of who they are. Yeah. So you have to respect it. If you lose everything else, you have your name to hold on to. So Lorianne King, and let me share a bit about Lorianne here with you. She's a graduate of Ivy Business School and holding her MBA from UC Berkeley. Lorianne King worked for both the Monitor Group and Deloitte before launching her personal development company. She's a lecturer at Ivy College and has been a regular guest speaker at Google, Harvard, and Bain Consulting on topics surrounding male or female communication. Lord, that is a never-ending topic, so she will always have business. Lorianne has been professionally trained in Reiki, Vortex Healing, and Biofield Healing Immersion, which have led to the development of her training programs, healing sessions, international in-person trainings and events. Growing up in Ontario, Canada, Lorianne now resides in the San Francisco Bay Area. Nice. So welcome, Lorianne, to Between the Lines.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. And while we're talking, I am going to share my screen here. Even though you're not showing your beautiful self, but we're seeing you here on your website. Yeah, we're seeing you.
There I am.
Yes, you're seeing it. Beautiful. Right. So male-female communication, and what we're talking about today is what women want in the workplace. People always focus on what women want in relationships, personal relationships. But looking at what women want in the workplace, I think it has been discussed to the extent more of a negative nature, that we tend to be aggressive. We tend to adopt or adapt a man's role, and we don't know how to be feminine, that softer, lighter side of us. But we take on this sort of persona, because it's an aggressive world, and we think we need to be, I guess, bolder, aggressive, more male dominated in the workplace in order to gain respect. So I want to hear your feedback on that, and we're going to go more into what women want in the workplace, but still maintain a femininity to it, because this is who we are. We are supposed to be the softer, nurturer type of person, but not the type to be taken advantage of. Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I want to start by just saying I'm a stand for people everywhere to have what they want, right? I think life is about creating the life that you want. And we all have the freedom and the ability to do that. And then it's about getting over any mental blocks or barriers or any systemic blocks or barriers that are in our way to doing that. So I'm a stand for people to have that in every area of their life. And like you said, we're talking today about what do you want in your workplace. And with a specific flavor towards women, because that's the people I'm most excited about empowering. I am one. I love women. Is empowering women to have what they want and create what they want in their life, and that extends into their work life. So what you were starting to talk about is, how women are perceived in the workplace if they are really going after what they want, which can be, depending on the way that they're doing it, they can be seen as being aggressive. And one of the things that I've spoken about at Google actually specifically is, which taking a look at, okay, how are you really showing up in your communication at work? And there's some differences between male and female communication that we see in patterns. And I just want to remind everyone, as I'm speaking about this, I'm speaking about differences between men and women. So I'm going to speak in generalizations just for the ease of conversation. But of course, there's exceptions to every rule. And we know that not all men are one way and not all women are another way.
Right.
But what we see when we do generalize is that men tend to be more direct in their communication, and their communication is focused around solving the problem. That's like kind of the purpose of what drives male communication. When we look in general at female communication, and this I'm talking outside of the workplace here, just in general, why men and women are communicating, what we see in female communication is women communicate in order to create connection. The communication, the conversation is the point. That's what creates the connection. And that has a really powerful bonding currency, which is really important to women. Part of how we know we're safe is that we're connected to others. So then when you bring a woman into a workplace and now she has a job to do, now part of her role is to solve problems. So now she's there communicating with the intention of helping to solve problems, because that's what her job is about. But she's also got this really ingrained pattern of not wanting to break connection and to have harmony in her conversations. And sometimes, as you know, when you're in the workplace, you might have a really different opinion from someone else in the workplace, and it's hard to have that harmony. So one of the things that I encourage women to look at is, okay, how are you communicating? If you were to draw an arrow going horizontally on a piece of paper, and at one end you have communicate with the sole purpose of solving the problem, and at the other end you have communicate with the sole purpose of creating connection, where does most of your communication show up on that spectrum in the workplace? And that might give you some insights into how you're being received and whether you are moving in the direction that you want. What we generally find when women do this mapping is women who are communicating and they're really emphasizing creating connection, they're usually not speaking up and giving their opinion. They're usually not asking for what they want, not asking for raises, not getting full credit for their work. Often other people will end up taking credit for their work. And then women who are on the totally other end of the spectrum, who are only communicating to solve the problem and they're not having any eye for maintaining connection. This is like where the double standard comes in, and this is not fair, but this is what happens, is that those women are often perceived to be an ice queen or a ball buster or a bitch. They're judged unfairly in the workplace for showing up, quote unquote, the same way that most men do, where they never get that feedback. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And I want to jump in right here now. So here's what. As a woman, and I've been in leadership positions, and I run my own business, and I've been at the decision-making table, the negotiating table, and even in my personal relationships, and I'm not talking relationship like intimacy or anything. I mean, just talking with people. If I were to answer that question about the spectrum, I would probably be in the middle somewhat. I tend to, when I'm having a conversation, depending on, I guess, what it is, I like direct. I'm a bit of man and woman, I suppose. I like direct. If somebody's taking long to get to the point, I'm like, get to the point. Just round and round, it kind of drives me crazy. Sometimes they're saying a whole lot of things that is not even relevant to whatever the topic may be, and they're just avoiding. People avoid. So, for example, let me give you a simple example. If I were to say, Laurie, I want to have a meeting with you. When are you available? You're going to start telling me you have this to do, you have that to do, and on this day you have that, and on that day you have that. And I'm like, that's not what I asked. When are you available? So people would go round and round and tell me everything else except saying, okay, I am available Monday at 3 or Friday at 5. I'm solution oriented. I don't look at the problems. People come at me with the problems, and I'm like, no. What is the solution? So when somebody comes to me and they tell me all what they have to do, I am like, oh my goodness, that's not what I asked. When are you? And sometimes I have to say to them 2-3 times, ask the question 2-3-4 times in order for them to actually answer the question, come to come to the answer to say, I am available on Saturday at 2. And I'll be like, great, I will come and see you at Saturday at 2. You know, a simple thing as that.
It's a great example. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a simple thing. I mean, I am like, what is going on in your mind? Where have you gone? Or if I ask somebody, like the other day, I asked somebody, I said, I wanted to go somewhere and I needed a lift. So I said, are you available this evening at, you know, X time at 2:30, 3:30? And the person said to me, oh, they have this one to pick up and they have to do this. And I'm like, what is going on here? Is there something wrong with me or something wrong with them? Why are people always coming to tell me what they have to do? You know, what I figure is like, it feels good saying how busy they are, or it makes them sound like, you know, they're all that. And I'm really not concerned about all the things that you're doing. That's none of my business. I really don't care. No, really, I really don't care. I don't care to know what you're doing.
Yeah, right.
I don't care to know. It's none of my business. I really don't care. All I care about right now is that I need to meet with you, Lori. Are you available? Can you pick me up? Can you give me a lift at this time? No. Okay, thanks. Bye. Katang, put on the phone. I'm like, move along.
You know, I think my sense is that a lot of what you're getting of, you know, people giving you, oh, here, I have this and I have this, it's probably coming from two main places. One, it's coming from that people are actually just kind of trying to think out loud and give you an answer. Like, oh, I have to do this at this time and this at this time. So maybe, you know, they're like trying to work it out while they're right there. And the second is that people don't like saying no, right? So they're, you know, they actually, in general, people don't like saying no or yes. It's scary to commit to things. And so they're like, well, let's see,
really?
2:30. Oh, yeah.
No. You know, no, I don't really. Let me come back to your point about it thinking out loud. I don't have the time to stand up to hear you think out loud. I don't have the time. No, I don't have the time for that. And I really and then I find it ridiculous that you can't say yes or no. My thing is, I mean, I could understand people having an issue, you know, feeling a way of saying no. It doesn't matter to me. You say no, I'm not going to be swallowed up by the earth. You are not going to be swallowed up by the earth. These things happen. You know, I
totally
understand. Yes, I just move on to somebody else. You can't do it, Laurie. I'll move on to Jane. Jane can't do it. I move on to John. John can't do it. You understand? Oh, I just
so you're
solution oriented, and if nobody can do it, I'll be like, Corinne, come on, there is another way, you know. And I just find another way because my brain is always like, what's the solution? How can this work? What's the solution? How can this work? It's not.
So I would suggest, just from our little chat here, that you're closer to that end of the spectrum that's about solving problems than you think you are. You're probably not so in the middle. You're a little closer to that end of the spectrum, because part of the reason that people often hesitate and don't want to say no is that to them saying no feels like they're breaking connection. And the whole point of the communication is to have that connection. That's one of the reasons that people hesitate to say like a firm yes or no. Mm-hmm. And you're also pointing to this other really great phenomenon that happens, which is the difference between what we call askers and guessers. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to try to remember the gentleman's name who came up with this theory. It's a really awesome blog article. But basically, the summary of it is that some people grow up in a family, in an environment where it's an ask culture, meaning if you want something, you just come out and ask for it. And if they can do it, they'll say yes. And if they can't, they'll say no. And then you move on and you go ask someone else. Yeah. It's just like really easy. And that's what you're describing, right? Like, yeah, if it's a no, okay, great. I just need to find someone who says yes. And you'll go ask for someone else or ask for something else.
Yeah.
But then there's also the guess culture. And in guess culture and guessers, these are people who grew up in families and environments where people didn't come out and just ask for what they wanted. They would hint at what they wanted. They would maybe be more passive aggressive or more subtle about it. And so when someone actually does ask for what they want, these people feel like an insane amount of pressure that they need to say yes. Oh. And then they'll also maybe even feel resentful to the person who asked, even though they end up saying yes, because just the way that they grew up around requests and questions, it's like if someone's going to ask you, like you basically feel obligated that you have to do it. And it, and then you'll look at them and be like, I can't believe they would even dare to ask for that. They're asking for so much, but now of course I'm going to do it. Right. Whereas, and this is where you run into trouble between askers and guessers when they start to interact, because askers just go ahead and ask for what they want. They're like, what's the problem? It's just a question. They'll say no if they can't do it. Right. But guessers are over here feeling like, oh my God, I have to do it. No.
No. And I want to roll on that point, because for example, if I see something somewhere, like in a store, or I want something, or I want to approach somebody. Let's say I want to approach somebody. And you might be hanging out with some girls or guys, whatever. You might just be socializing and you want to go across to say something to someone. And it's like, no, don't go. I'll be like, why? What's the worst that can happen? He says no. What? What's the worst? Just go across there and say whatever, or ask for what you want, or invite the person over, or whatever. And then when I do that, they think, Corinne, you're just so bold. You're just so obnoxious. So they will start using some sort of negative term, and I'll be like, it's bold, yes, I admit I'm bold. It's not a matter of obnoxious. I'm just not going to be afraid and sit here wondering, and my mind going in all different directions. What if he coulda, I shoulda, oh my God, I made that opportunity go. Hell no. I'm going over there to do whatever it may be that I may want to do. So for example, I'm in Latin dancing. And when I go out, my only aim is to have fun. There are lots of men, lots of women around. And I'm like, I came here to have fun. Not most of the times I may go out alone, or I may go out with my girlfriends or friends. And I will tell you, Lori, I am not going to be just standing in a corner with my friends. I'm here to mix and mingle and dance with every man I could find on the dance floor. I am not watching to see who he's with. If he's married, I'm not checking out all that statistics, because that doesn't matter to me. We are here in a social setting to socialize, and we are all here to have fun. And if somebody is with their partner, let's call it their boyfriend, their husband, whatever it is, and they don't want that man to dance with me, then they need to keep him home. That's how I see it. Keep him home under lock and chain, because why would you be out to socialize and you're not socializing and you just want to keep him to yourself? So I would go out there and I would nicely ask, hey, can I, because we have ways of asking a man to dance, can we dance, or would you mind dancing? And most of the times the guys will come out and dance, because I know most of them by now. So when I go, it's natural, everybody just dance. But initially, I would go towards anybody and dance, or men would come to me and dance. Another woman would be like, Corinne, you're supposed to wait till the man asks you. I'm like, really? I'll be sitting here all night. Because I said I didn't come here to sit down in a corner for a man to ask me anything. I'm going out there to ask a man to dance, because because he's not coming forward, and I must sit here tapping my foot or twiddling my thumbs waiting for him. Hell no. So I am going to go forward, and what's the worst he can do? No. Well, I move on to the next man, and I'm
right. You're already not dancing with him, so you're already living that worst case there.
Right. And it's not even the worst case. It might end up being the best case, because when you watch him dance, you might be like, oh my God, thank God I didn't dance with that guy.
So because I think that you're pretty far down the spectrum of problem solver, solution oriented, just go ask for what you want, right? You're showing up at pretty far end of that spectrum. I'd be really curious for you to share a little bit of how that has really helped you in the workplace, and then maybe how you feel like that has hurt you in the workplace.
Well, that's a very good question, and I like how you spin around the hosting and interviewer here. So,
oh, sorry.
No, that's good. That's fine. Throw back the questions at me. That's good. No,
maybe I'm far down the spectrum too.
Right? No, I love that. I love when people turn the questions back. No, I love that. It has. I wouldn't want to use the word hurt, because you see, I'm confident about myself and what I do and who I am. And while I am human, and yes, I have emotions, and I'm a woman, first and foremost, I will have an emotional side of me when persons say, they find that I'm negative or different. It all depends on the perspective that people come with. And I'm like, you are not, I would start to look at them as you are probably not mature enough to understand the dynamics of what is happening. I need to make a decision. I don't make decisions on emotions. That's me. I don't make decisions. I've come to that conclusion many years ago that we as women, because we are emotional beings, nurturers, we tend to, I'm not saying that I don't want the connection. I do love connecting with people. It's a natural thing for me. I naturally connect. But you see, when it comes to making decisions, delegating, getting the job done, that's my end goal. So as much as I love all of you, or everybody, when I give you a directive or you come to me with something, and it's not a solution, or you're not trying to find a solution, I am going to push you, because you see, I push people in the same way I push myself. People may think I am forceful or forceful with them, very harsh on them, but I am also very harsh on myself. I'm not going to be harsh with people or what they deem as harsh, because I am also the same on me, and they wouldn't believe I'm even more harsher on me than I am on them. So people perceive me as, I guess, very aggressive, take charge, jump in front, take the lead, probably take over type of a thing. But I have, over the years, as I said, tame that a bit, allow people to do them. I like to allow people to grow, to take the chances, to make the decisions, and just be there to support them should they go awry or things are not going right. And I always keep an open door and window with people, always. Even though I'm bold and aggressive, I always say, listen, don't wait till it reaches a point where we can't do something about it. Come to me, let me know what's going on so I can jump in and help you, or get somebody to help you, or whatever. And don't ever tell me that you know to do something when you don't know. I always admit I don't know things. We all can't know everything. So I like people to be honest with me. The basis of me is honesty and trust. And once we have that, then we can have a lovely relationship going down the road. But if you pretend that you know just because you're trying to impress me, and then you mess up things, I will get very angry. When all you need to do is say, look, Corinne, I don't know. I need some help with this. And I'll be like, sure, what do you need help with? Let me guide you. So I do connect, but I am very focused on the end goal, because remember, I may be reporting to someone else and I need to deliver, the buck stops at me. So when anything goes wrong, yeah, and they always focus on the wrong more than the right. When anything goes wrong, it will be me, and I take accountability. No matter who it may have been to blame in the team, I take full responsibility for it. So this is why I have to make sure everything goes right. I may tell persons to do certain things they may not like. My voice may be more sterner, and I'll be very direct. You may not like it, but it's not personal. It's because we need to focus on the job, on the goal.
Yeah. So two things come into my mind as you're saying that. The first is what I've seen is that typically people who are further down the spectrum, like you are, or who are more of this ask culture, they tend to perform better in their jobs because they have that, they can just focus on getting the job done, right? So it's easier to get the job done when you're not thinking about, how's this person going to feel about what I'm saying, or are they still going to like me if I do that, blah, blah, blah.
Don't care.
Right? So they tend to perform better, but I guess the quote unquote negative, or some of the consequence of the way they show up like that, is then the way that they're perceived in the workplace. And this is where the double standard comes in. And so I remember one of the talks I gave at Google, it was mostly a room of women, and some men had come to the talk as well. And so they were all planting themselves on that spectrum. And then they were sharing some of the feedback they've gotten about their communication based on where they were on the spectrum. And the women who were closer towards the end of being very solution oriented in their communication and very direct in their communication would consistently get this feedback. They would get the feedback that they needed to get better at bringing people along with them. Meaning, they would know the answer, or they would jump ahead and they would just tell someone what to do, and they needed to bring people along more.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember so clearly one of the men getting up and being like, okay, I'm very far on the end of that spectrum, and I have never gotten that feedback.
Right.
Because people don't expect men to be communicating in that way.
Right.
And so that's, it's, these double standards, they're not fair, and
That's
they
right.
exist.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I'm very practical in my approach to things of like, hey, you need to understand how the landscape works, and
Right.
then you get to choose how you want to operate inside of that landscape.
Mm.
And so I think like the second piece of this is that different workplaces are going to have different cultures, right? In some workplaces, they might have a culture where everyone is super direct. It's like, hey, ask for what you want, get what you need, move on. That's the culture. Like, that's what we all do. We don't take it personally. We're here to do a job.
Right.
And then there's going to be other workplace cultures that are a little more like that guest culture, a little more political, where it's like, oh, don't let them know that's what you want. You can't ask for that directly. Like, you got a hint, and you have to kind of play the game and massage it.
No.
So what's really important for anyone who's listening to this is, are you in a workplace that is the right culture for you? Because it's going to be really painful if you have to contort yourself. If you are naturally someone who's not so comfortable coming out right and asking.
Laurie, I think I missed you here for a second.
Not going to be comfortable.
Yeah.
Similarly, if you're super direct and you're working with all these other people who are not, and that's not the culture, so they're viewing you as being too aggressive or too bold, that's not a good fit for you either. And so it's much easier to change the company we work for than it is to change the way that we work. And obviously, everyone should grow and look to become a more integrated communicator. That's going to make your whole life easier. But, kind of at the essence, it's like anyone who's listening to Corinne here, you can just imagine what it would be like for her if she went into a workplace that everyone is tiptoeing around and not asking for what they want directly.
That's right. I would be like crazy. I would be crazy. I'd be like, what do you want? And I mean, it happens even in my relationship with the opposite sex. I would say, tell me what you want. What do you want? Just come out and say it. Just come out and say it. Stop pussyfooting around the whole thing. Just come out and say it. Right? I am direct. It's a turn on for me, and it's not only a turn on. It's easy communication. Just get to the point. Because if I'm being asked out, a guy would say, do you want to go to the movies or do you want to go to dinner? Yes. I am not.
Well, that was clear.
Yeah, very clear. There's no long talking or anything. The most that I might ask, is what day, what time are you looking at? Because I have a busy schedule, and I need to coordinate and schedule everything. Or I might shift things around in order to go out with you. You understand? So that's all I will ask. Yes, I'll go out with you. When are you thinking? That's it. Short conversation. Yeah. What time should I get ready? And if it's like a dinner or a function that he wants me to go with him, I might further ask, well, what is the dress code? So that I make sure that I fit in, and I'm not wearing something that's probably inappropriate, typical things that you should ask. But I am like, yeah, sure. When? Where? I'm always ready. Yeah, not into the long talking kind of a thing, I just like to get to the point. If a guy wants to kiss me, I mean, you just say something, you say, I want to kiss you, and I'll be like, sure, go on, right?
And I'm curious, if you look at like your closest, friends and allies in your life, are they also really direct communicators?
Yes.
Yeah, because we tend to flock with people who operate the same way as us.
Of course. I cannot stand wimpy people. And I said it to somebody the other day, I go crazy around wimpy people. People like, should we go there? I don't know. I'll be like, what the hell? Just go. You want to eat that? Just try it. What's the worst that can happen? You don't like it, throw it away. Or give it to somebody. At least give it a try. Stop standing. Stop standing there thinking, oh my God, no. And then it have some persons that would be like, they start thinking negative. Oh, this can happen. And I'm like, but you haven't even done it. How do you know that's going to happen? And what if this happens? I'm like, and what if it doesn't? You know, what if it doesn't? Just go. You know,
Yeah.
I just cannot take the wimpy thing. So I no, but you raise a point about the whole workplace thing and contorting yourself, and you know, it makes me think the reason why people are unhappy and in their workplace, in their jobs, is because they are contorting, Laurie, in all different
Mm-hmm.
forms and fashion, not only
Mm-hmm.
to communication, but the culture, the people. This is what is making them unhappy. And a lot of people, I'm sure you know, are unhappy in their jobs.
Mm-hmm.
They are
Yep.
desperately unhappy and they would prefer to stay home and clean the house and be at peace with themselves than to go to work and do. Because I tell you, I went into a pizza place just the other night, and I'm sitting there, and this girl is, you know, she's working and on the front end, and she's complaining, I'm not staying here another minute outside of when I'm supposed to be working. And I hear these kind of comments, you know, there's no joy to being there. Staying, she's not staying an extra minute longer. You know, that type of thing. And I'm like, wow, look at that. Nobody's saying that, you know, you have to stay, but you know, there should be joy in getting up and going to work every day, you know, to that particular place. And you should feel a sense of, I don't want to say sadness, but you're like, oh my gosh, I so love working here. I could stay here. And, you know, there's no
Yeah.
joy. There's no joy, you know. And I'm like, what is going on with people? So anybody, I'm like, listening to this should do their due diligence in terms of the places that they're going to work. Find out about the culture. You know, we have always heard about that in school and preparing for career day, career fairs, you know, but I don't think people really do it seriously because they're like, I am desperate for a job and I just need to get something and I'll manage. And but you come home cussing in the night or cussing in the evening, your weekend is spoiled because why? Because you have to pay the bills and you need this job and you have to take it and you really don't care. You will deal with the people when you come home. You know, you try to shed them off when you walk out the door and behave like that young lady. I am not staying here another minute. You know, it's you know, how would you suggest people deal with that? Women deal with that who are career oriented or even men who are driven. How
Yeah.
how would you suggest persons who know that they're either the ask or the guest, how they can prepare themselves or decide where they should go and work? Should they wait it out until they find that place? And even if they don't wait it out and they end up in a job out of desperation to pay the bills, they have a family to take care of, you know, how are they to manage?
Yeah. So I think the first thing is you need to know that about yourself, right? Like what kind of culture are you going to be most happy in? And I think a good look around you is the question I asked you earlier of like, who are the closest people that you have in your life, the people you love and you find easy to be with and you can just mostly be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You can be yourself the most. I mean, what kind of communicators are they? Because you're most likely the same. So that's one way you can kind of look to, if you're not sure where you fit here, take a look at the people around you and how you communicate with them.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we find a workplace where we feel like we can just be ourselves at work, it
Mm-hmm.
is much, that's one of the ways to access that joy. That's, you know, people have different value systems. Some people think about work and they say, you know what, work is a means to an end for me. I'm going to go somewhere. I'm going to do the job. Hopefully it's something that I like at least don't dislike and it pays well. And then I go live my life outside of that. And that's a totally fine value system as long as you know that you're consciously doing that.
Mm-hmm.
It's when people feel resigned, where they're going, okay, you know, I can't get anything better. This is what my life is. I hate this job, but I'm going to keep going. That's when it hurts my heart because people always have choice. We can always do something. We can always change our circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it'll take a long time. Maybe we have to go get more education. Maybe there's something else we need to do, but it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're in that camp where you're like, okay, yeah, I've just been settling for this, but this is not actually what I want.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can look at, okay, what can I do about this?
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, so figuring out, okay, what kind of culture is going to work for you? And then the second question becomes, okay, how do I know if a company has that culture or not?
Mm-hmm.
And you raised a really good point. I think, especially when we're first coming out of school, we don't know. We don't know what it's going to be like to work at a company, especially if we never have had a job like that before. And so I think that's why more and more these days you're seeing people change jobs every like 2 to 3 years, whereas in the past we used to stay because the last generation's value system was really more of that our work is a means to an end. And today's generations who are in the workplace now are really unwilling to settle for a long time of not feeling like they're growing or they're being challenged or that they're excited about what they're doing. So I just want to offer that you can change your job at any time, right? It's your choice. It's your life. It's your career. You're in charge of that. So if you find yourself somewhere where you're unhappy, you can pick up and move and find somewhere that you're going to be happier. Yeah. And so it's like that. Don't be afraid to quit a job. If you got a new job and it's very clear to you in the beginning, this isn't going to work long term, don't feel like you have to stay there because you just got that. Like, it's okay to move on. You're actually going to be doing that company a great service, so they don't keep investing and training you and helping you to like have the job and then you leave later. And you're going to do yourself a great service also by saying like, this isn't right for me and I'm not going to settle for something that's not right.
Yeah, and that works the same way with personal relationships as well. Don't stay in something that just really isn't adding value to you, or you are probably not going to be happy in it.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
I am looking at your, go ahead.
That's fine, go ahead.
Yeah, so I want to kind of move around on your website here a bit. So you have your, yes, because we have been talking. So I see you have the Love Smarter podcast. So you too do a podcast.
I do, yeah. I haven't released any new episodes in a little while. I think you'll see the last one is 2016. But there's about 40 episodes there, and this podcast is focused on having a great relationship, a romantic relationship, and specifically focused on ways that you can grow and learn as a person to improve the quality of your romantic relationships.
Nice. And let's see here. This is your about page. Let's see.
This is really like, I've got a website overhaul in the works, so I'm like cringing a little bit as we do this, but it's great.
No, this is great. This is great. There's nothing wrong with your website. It's fine. Yeah.
Thank you.
So you have webinars. So these are all free webinars?
Yes, some of those are courses and some are free. So this Claim Your Queendom is a free webinar, and in this one I really dig into some of these male-female communication differences and how to improve your communication with the opposite sex. So that's about an hour free class. It's very similar actually to some of the trainings I've led at Google and Harvard. So if people want to get better in your communication, either you want a relationship and wonder if communication might be in your way, or you're already in one and you want to improve that, it's super helpful webinar.
Okay. All right. So you have manifesting power goals and daily rituals. Tell us a bit about that.
So a lot of my work has shifted from the time I was in the corporate world to now looking at the world in this energetic way of, okay, what's our vibration at? I loved how you started our call by celebrating the gratitude that you have for the beautiful place that you live and getting the vibration of the call up. So a lot of the work that I do is now focused on the law of attraction, how we can attract what we want to us, and coupling that with these really practical things about like, how do I get better at asking for what I want? Yes.
I live in the law of attraction. That is a law that I believe in thoroughly. It has been working for me, that would be another conversation. But
yeah.
But I thoroughly believe in it. We are all vibrational beings, and we need to understand that. I think people look through certain eyes and not the eyes of energy. They see, whatever they see is what they believe. So if they see, they see whatever, they see themselves, they see somebody, they just take it at face value. But there's so much more going on underneath all of that that they just don't understand. And so, in talking about me, when I'm having conversations with people too, because I realize that I'm ahead of, I don't want to bring down anybody, but this is the best way that I can say it intellectually, in terms of discussing the law of attraction and just the conversations that I will have with people, Lori. they're just not there yet. They're just not there yet. And so I am careful who I speak with, who I associate with, because some people may look at me probably as weird, different. Some may say, wow, you're very unique. Some people might say you're gifted, you know. Some people say, wow, there may be positive remarks about it, but some people like, what are you talking about? Because they're just not there yet. In terms of, the whole law of attraction, the type of beings that we are, tapping into a source, believing in something that hasn't occurred yet, and knowing that it is going to take form. People don't believe in that. They, they have to see it to believe. I don't need to see it to believe. You see?
Right.
Yeah. So people might think that's a bit kind of airy fairy, wooey wooey kind of creepy kind of thinking, but really, like I said before, I don't care. I have taken that approach for many years, being on this journey, and it's a journey. I'm always on progress. It's always in progress, because we're always learning more and more about ourselves. The more we interact, and the more we meditate. I meditate. And I like quiet, I like stillness, because I'm able to tap into myself and source more, in quiet and stillness. I cannot stand busyness, I cannot stand loud. And I look at people when they're in loud, and I say to myself, wow, do you always have to have noise around you? You can't even hear yourself. Could you hear yourself think? Do you know if somebody was to say something to you, And I think people who are in loudness and noise, I think, what I say to myself is that they're afraid of actually hearing themselves. They're afraid of actually dealing with who they are. That's my conclusion. I may be wrong, but that's, when I look at people, that I may be in the same environment with, I realize that they're afraid. There is a fear of actually dealing with their own selves. That they have to have noise, having the TV on when they're going to sleep. They can't be in stillness. Even the things that they watch on TV, all these negative propaganda and media, things that they're pouring into their mind from the time they wake up in the morning. This is what they go to bed with in the night. This is what is I was just listening to Wayne Dwyer a while ago. This is what their brain and their soul is marinating on in the night when they sleep. I don't want my body to be marinating on those negative thoughts. You see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think your hypothesis is probably right most of the time. That and one way to test that, if anyone's listening and they're like, oh, I keep myself surrounded by noise all the time, maybe she's talking about me, is just see what happens when you try to sit in silence. And it might feel uncomfortable, if that's the first time you've ever done that, but just see if you can just sit there and be with the discomfort. And if you can't, if suddenly, I have to go to the bathroom, I'm really hungry, or, you find some reason to get out of it, then that might be a clue. Oh yeah, there's something that you're maybe running from, and that's why you're using all this noise around you. There's some people who they actually just grew up in a noisy household, and noise feels like home and feels comforting to them. It's not necessarily that they're running, but I think you're probably right most of the time. And you can do that little test for yourself if you're wondering.
Yeah, and I think that's a very good test. I mean, I could fit into noise and I could fit into quiet. That's the thing with me. So for example, when I go out dancing or to a function, noise comes with it. So you deal with it, and then you can go back into your quiet after. But I definitely, if I was, I just love quiet. I love being able, yes, I love quiet because I'm a creative being, and I get my best thoughts. When you're in the bathroom, Lori, you get your best thoughts because
in the shower for me.
Yes, when I'm sitting on the throne and when I'm in the shower, that is when everything is happening. All the ideas are flowing. And just when I'm about to fall asleep, that's when everything is happening. So I have my phone and I have my notepad next to me because I have to write down these ideas. So I love stillness. I love quiet. But to each his own, yeah? So,
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so let's look at your products, and then we'll start winding up the show, because if you leave it up to me, we would stay here for the rest of the day. So ways to work with your orgasmic manifesting. Listen here now, Laurie. This is a PG show. What are you talking about?
Well, this is probably what I'm most known for now. Actually, is I teach a course called Orgasmic Manifesting, and this is all about the energetics of how to create using your sexual energy. So it's really taking the law of attraction to like a whole new level by powering it with the most creative force we have available to us, which is our sexual energy.
Yes, I agree with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly. And I've also been following this other person. You probably know. Is it Kim Anami? Kim Anami.
Uh-huh.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Oh my God, that girl is just so out there.
She's out there, yeah. She's amazing.
She's out there, and she does not hold back, and I love her for it. You know, she's like, woman, you don't know the power that you have within you. You know, yeah, it's like we're bursting with energy, and you need to tap into that if you want abundance, if you want money, if you want everything is coming from your sexual energy. You know, feel comfortable with who you are. You know, I'll come back to my dancing as a example, Laurie. When I dance, people come back to me like, oh my God. When I say people, other women, other girls or ladies, and I'd be like, oh my God, Corinne, how do you dance like that? Your body is just moving, and you know, you know, and they're sitting there watching me like, I can't do that. I can't do that. I'm like, I don't understand. I say, what it is that I'm just not inhibited. I'm very comfortable with my body. I'm comfortable with myself. You are just holding back. And they're like, you know, you're absolutely right, because they're saying they can't do the things that I do. When I'm dancing, it's I'm in a different world. I am not aware of how my body is moving. I am just moving. I'm moving to the rhythm. The music moves through me, and I go into a different place. And so I don't know what they see, but clearly they see something so sexual that they're like, oh my God, you know, they cannot portray that sensuality and sexuality publicly on the dance floor. And I'm like, why not? I'm like, why not? You're a woman. But they are so inhibited because of how they were grown. You know, even I grew up in a sheltered environment, but I don't make that hold me back. I know who I am, and I've grown to become very confident about who I am, and you know, and my body, you know, but some people are just not there yet. So
yeah, it can be a healing journey for a lot of women, you know, because we're raised with a lot of shame about our bodies, or insecurity about our bodies, or taught that our sexuality is a private thing or a bad thing, you know, and so it's beautiful that you have that uninhibited expression, and I want more women in the world to have that, and that's part of what this course deals with. It's a pretty deep healing for a lot of women who go through it.
Yes, very good, very good. So you do you have men in this as well? I'm sure there are men who would want to express their orgasmic energy.
Yeah, I do get requests from men quite a bit, but this is actually a course that's designed specifically for women, and I'm teaching a physical pleasure practice that's specifically for women also in it. So that's part of why it's women centric.
No, we need to keep in touch, Laurie. We need to keep in touch, girl. Oh my God. So let's see how we can contact you here, because I'm telling you, anybody listen to this show will definitely want to contact you.
Oh yeah, it's super easy. You can just fill out this form or email us down below. That's hello@laurie-annking.com. And we'll help you out with whatever you need.
Yes, hello, Laurie. So hello at laurie.annking.com. Beautiful, beautiful. What is that, a cat?
Yeah, it's my cat. He's meowing at the window right now.
Well, he is the ding bell here right now, because that's where we're ending the show. So he's probably saying, hello, it's time for you to finish up this interview. So Laurie, thank you so much. Let me get back to your front page so we can see what you're looking like. You know, you would be looking at a contact us page. So here you are. So thank you so much, Laurie, for being on Between the Lines. I had a wonderful conversation with you. It feels like I was just hanging with a girl, you know, just chilling. Yeah, this is cool. And I love the way you threw back questions at me. Well, that comes from being a podcaster like myself. So
yeah. Yeah, sorry. Second nature, I guess.
Second nature. That's right. Oh my gosh, Laurie, thank you so much. I really appreciate the tips you shared. You tapped into me. You know, I was able to, of course, share my own experience. And I hope that, you know, what we discussed today is able to help another woman, another young lady, even men who are listening to this, for them to understand how women are and what they're looking for, whether at the workplace and relationships, otherwise, I really appreciate you for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.